As a business coach, what are the steps you need to take to help small business owners build their business, build their wealth, and at the same time create quality of life? Today, in our conversation with Steve Brock, Master Licensee for Action Coach in the Carolinas, Steve will share with us some valuable insights into how he has helped hundreds of small businesses to their true potential. So let's get to it. Steve Brock, what do you feel are the top two or three qualities necessary or skills to be successful in franchising?
As an action coach, so I would say there's, so one of them is lifetime learners. So not only the action coach stuff, William, but, we consume materials. We ingest them. We are always looking for podcasts, always looking for authors, always looking for things to bring to the client so that they can move the business forward. So lifetime learners for one. And I would say another one would be enthusiasts of business. The great thing about being an action coach is that you work with a lot of different kind of businesses at the same time. And so it keeps it very fresh. And as part of that, you've got to be curious as to how different kind of businesses work. I mean, if you're a gotta make a donuts kind of guy, you'll be miserable as an action coach because every day is a little bit different. Every day is a little bit more interesting than the one before it. And you get to work with just a wide variety, a wide cast of characters, of business owners in a variety of industries. So you get to learn a lot about different companies.
And having said that, how do you feel that Action Coach has become such a popular concept in franchising, white collar franchising particularly?
Well, if you look at the success rate of small businesses, and I always think of them as the George Bailey businesses of the world, right? Usually they're started by someone who's very good at what the business delivers. They're just not very good at running the business that delivers it. And so what they need are the fundamentals on how to make good decisions when it comes to business, and then someone there to walk alongside them to make sure they actually do the work. And it typically is the kind of work that either they're not familiar with from their prior learnings or prior schooling, or the kind of work that they're not as excited about doing but needs to be done. So I've always kind of compared it, William, to it's like a personal trainer for a business. You got to make sure they do the reps, and you got to make sure the form is right.
Is this why? Is this the idea that led the motivation that led you to invest in this type of franchising, in the business coaching franchise?
So I grew up in a family business, and I was there to see what happens at the kitchen table. And when it was great, it was great, and when it wasn't great, it wasn't. And so I thought a place that I could apply my entrepreneurial spirit were to the businesses that make up the community, the guys that are under 5 million with 4 or 5, 6 employees that are building the Rotary parks and they're coaching soccer and they're volunteering for Little League. And if we can help them do that more effectively and with a lot more peace because the business is running, then what a difference it can make locally.
As a master licensee, you have two sets of talent here. You have your coaches that help the businesses, and also the business owners that are receiving the help from your coaches, no?
That's right. And so, our average retention is a little bit over 2 years. And so when people join the community, they're here for a long time. And so we get to know everything about them, not just the business, but the personal. We go to the graduations and we go to the anniversary dinners and really get to form long-standing relationships that become more about the money and really become about spending our lives together.
I hear that more often than not, that you're not only creating wealth for the client, but you're also creating space, you're creating a life, changing their lives in general.
Yeah, exactly, William. I've always thought that what these business owners really want is they want time and the money to do whatever they want with that time. And quite often that time is, getting away for a weekend without panicking. It's coaching their daughter's soccer team. It's getting back involved with some of the things they were involved with before, early on in the business or maybe before they started it. So it's finding that, balance is kind of an overused term, but it's finding the ability to have the business run so that they can enjoy the other parts of their life, whether that's relationships or travel or charity work or what have you.
It's an old saying that time is money, but it's easier said than done, no?
It is. And especially if you don't know what people should be doing or how to best use your time, you can throw a lot of money at things and it not work out. So understanding how to run the business, giving them that firm foundation is the first step to them reclaiming the life and the lifestyle that they want.
So if let's just say I'm trying to look at different franchise models out there, and if I wanted to become a business coach or join Action Coach, what kind of questions should I be asking of the franchisor?
Well, I think in any franchisor, the $1,000 question is a track record of success in delivering the service or product, a robust way to generate leads, understanding that, in a white collar business to business kind of environment, we're going to be doing that locally. We're going to engage in the community, and having an offering that's appealing to different segments of the marketplace so that they can invest or engage where it makes sense for them financially and time-wise.
So as far as training is concerned, you talked about franchise learning being one of the skills necessary, and having the entrepreneurial spirit. What if I do not have the entrepreneurial spirit? Can you teach that?
Well, you don't start looking at businesses unless you've got a little bit of it, right? And certainly you can learn anything if you're willing to. So being entrepreneurial just means that you decide to take control of your future from a career perspective and from a building wealth for your family perspective.
And being part of a franchise organization means you're not all alone out there in the world, as opposed to just building your own little store.
That's it. I mean, what I was most impressed by and surprised by at the same time when I joined Action Coach, and it's been a while since that happened, but I came out of the furniture industry, which was an industry in decline, where people's sole focus was to keep their job. And so the politics and the backstabbing and the end arounds, it was just a miserable place to work. And when I came to Action Coach, one of the things that I didn't expect, but was thrilled when it happened, was the support from other master licensees and coaches all over the world that I could call at any time and bounce ideas off them, learn best practices. And it really accelerated my ability to grow, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a person.
So it is, I hear more and more the word community thrown around, but you really have a community. You really have people wanting to help you and wanting to help you grow.
William, in all the times I've been here, I've never reached out to anyone at Action Coach who said, I'm busy, I don't have time, I can't get back to you. Probably the most complex thing that's ever happened in reaching out to people is that, hey, I'm in New Zealand, I'm 13 hours ahead, we've got to find a time where both of us are going to be awake. And that's about as difficult as it's been.
Wow. Is there, thinking back now when you first joined the organization, is there anything that you would do different now if you knew then what you know now?
From starting it up, or what do you mean
just joining the organization, building your business, or starting to build up your business, getting started up, getting kicked off?
So yeah, great question. So number one, I would do it again in the New York Minute. I've done Action Coach longer than I've done anything in my life, and I would join it again today, tomorrow, and every day going forward. But I think I would have even been more diligent. And now technology has helped with that, right? When I joined, it was a little harder to reach out around the world. But I would make an effort, especially as someone joining, to talk to at least one coach a day or 3 coaches per week. I would build it into my schedule, because you can have the greatest community and support structure in the world, and if you don't reach out to it, it doesn't do you any good. So I would have been more diligent, more disciplined. I would have had in my default calendar to call or Zoom or email or WhatsApp, I guess now, at least 3 people from the community every week, so that when I went to global conferences, it would feel like I already knew half the crowd.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like through these, the Franchise Coach podcast, I've gotten to know more and more of you guys in general, and other talent in franchising, which has actually feel regardless of how long you are in a place where you can always have the ability to learn or grasp an idea or something from the coaches, as you said, and not tapping into that resource is kind of not a right thing to do, no?
Well, it certainly is a wasted opportunity, right? I mean, you join a franchise for the community, for the support, for the systems, and the business in the box that's already been developed. And if you start to separate yourself and redo parts of the system and push some of those things aside, then you're pushing aside some of the value that you're part of.
And being in your community, in your area, in your region, it takes more than just reaching out to the community, because once the word gets around that you're helping the community, once the word gets around that you're growing, helping small and medium businesses grow, it's kind of catchy.
It is. Yeah, we've been fortunate here in North Carolina to have won Small Business Advocates of the Year a few times at this point. And what that brings with it is, people interested in what we're doing, inbound marketing versus outbound marketing all the time, support from local civic organizations to really kind of put our face forward to the small business community who is looking for resources but don't know where to start.
And you, of course, offer those, have the resources to be able to help them grow. What about just the basic general trades of franchising? You have now your franchisee, you have the training system, you have, how do you get your clients? How do you teach them to reach out to clients?
I always think about, I always have three buckets of marketing. So short-term marketing, things that we can get results from today or this week. Mid-term, things that will become productive in the next 1 to 3 months. And longer terms that are 4 months plus. And there always has to be a blend of the three. So when I think of short-term marketing, that is a book promotion that we've done with buying customers before. That is going down to a chamber event. That's joining a civic organization. I believe that this business has always been and most likely will always be belly to belly. We saw during COVID how people got clients all over the place, and the retention on those clients wasn't very good because they never were part of a local community. So as we engage the marketplace, that's kind of a short-term strategy. Midterm are the workshop series that we do, as well as joining more formal networking groups. And then long-term would be strategic alliances, people that are working with the same kind of businesses, but for other reasons. And over time, we'll share our candidates with them and they'll share their candidates with us. And we're able to become that, really bolsters what I believe us to be kind of a center of resources for business owners. We'll know the good bankers, we'll know the good attorneys, we'll know the good bookkeepers, and we'll be able to become a bridge, because most of the business owners that are out there don't have those relationships. They may have had them when they first started, but they haven't developed over time.
And that's how you get the long-term retention that you talked about. Yeah.
Correct. And you can always tell from an acquisition cost perspective, the longer you're in the business, that number should drop because referrals and strategic alliances kick in.
And you speak of referrals, those are critical in your business, no?
They are. Certainly for the coaches, referrals to other business owners. They see, if you're in a trade and you are able to go to the lake for the weekend, other guys in the trades are going to say, well, I'm working all weekend, so how are you going to the lake and I'm going to work?
Speaking of going to the lake and having family time, free time, is there any particular client or incident that stayed with you from your experience with Action Coach?
Let's see. We've had a lot of clients. I would say that there's one that comes to mind is a guy who had girls. And like I do, I've got girls. You're cool for a while, and then you're not cool for a while, and you're cool for a while later. And so he was a real soccer enthusiast, and his daughters were playing soccer. But the business was, he wanted to coach the teams, but it got to the point where he couldn't even go to the games anymore. And you could see it was really wearing on him. It was wearing on his wife, and it was wearing on the relationships with the girls. And so that was really the push that he needed to say, look, I've got to start doing things differently. And to do things differently, I have to have new ideas, and I have to have someone that makes sure I do the work. And over the course of, he probably started going to games after about 4 months. And in the second year of coaching, he actually picked up coaching the team and was able to spend every afternoon with his daughter, which is time that, if you were to press him, what was the most important thing about the coaching? Yes, the business results were better. Yes, the vision and mission team were better. But the time that he had with the daughters is something that he could never get back.
And, it's funny because you did this in such a short time, this turnaround.
The thing I love about Action Coach is that when it comes to fundamentals, if someone's willing to do the work, you can move the needle pretty quickly. It's really blocking and tackling, William. And that's the part that I really enjoy because it applies to everybody. I mean, every business needs to be good at fundamentals. And if the owner is open to new ideas and changing what they're doing, then the ability to implement that is a lot faster than you think it would be.
Yeah, because I guess sometimes when you're inside the bubble, you really can't change your ways, and you really can't see what you're doing right or wrong or indifferent. And so it takes someone like yourself to come in and say, okay, this is how we see it from the outside the bubble.
Well, that's it, right? I mean, here's how we see. And by the way, here's what we should do first. So they may say, God, I've got 1,000 things to do. Where do I start? And we're like, all right, here's where you start. And we just start chipping away at what's going on in the business until finally it starts to run a little bit, not on its own, but at least a lot more efficiently than it did before.
And how do you sometimes I find myself in this situation. How do you explain business coaching versus life coaching, marriage counseling? What's the differential here?
Yeah, good. So, and it's interesting because as we're working with business owners and you find so much about them, you start to slide into that. Hey, my spouse and I aren't getting along as well, or, my kid's having a problem with X, Y, or Z. And you've got to be self-aware enough to know, I've just crossed into a discussion that I am not qualified for. So a lot of the coaches will have as part of their strategic alliances, you think of the traditional business things, but you have to have a good psychiatrist and a psychologist and a good counselor to be able to refer to people. But when I think of business coaching versus life coaching, our job is really simple. It's to make the business the vehicle they always wanted it to be, so they can do whatever they want with their time and have the money to pull it off. It's not about building relationships with your parents or mending things with your siblings, although we'll do that over time. But if I can make the business sound so that their stress is down and they have time to invest with the ones they love and the financial resources to pull it off, that's what business coaching, it's all about, at least for me.
And you said something that really just stood out is relieving the stress. And that because stress is not only a killer in a physical fashion, but it's also a killer in your business life.
Brutal. Yeah, and the problem is that, especially with a business that's not going well, and this is where a little of the psychology comes into play. Being a business owner in a business that is not great is very lonely, because you don't want to tell your team, you don't want them to worry about their jobs. I get it. You can't bring it home because you don't want your family to worry about what's going to happen in the next 60 days. And so what I was fascinated by when I first started with Action Coach is how business owners, even though they didn't know me, would tell me everything, because nobody ever asks. And they needed someone that they could rely on to not only be a good sounding board, but also not to be like, well, you're not, I don't want to say non-judgmental, but, all right, man, I get what's happening. Let's put together a game plan to get you out of this and get the stress out of your life.
It's like you mentioned earlier, it's like therapy, no? It's in a way.
very much.
Because again,
Yep.
he's trusting you, an outsider, someone that he just met, with the most intimate parts of their life, and so that really speaks a lot for what you do.
Yeah, we are coaching a human being, not a business. We're just coaching the business to help the human being.
Coaching the business to help the human being. Well, I'm going to quote you one of these days. That's really, really a helpful insight. Anything else that you would like to share with us as far as the actual day-to-day, or just the basics of what to expect?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, and I see it with new coaches, the seasoned guys kind of fall into this on their own, but just be really good managing yourself when it comes to time, and understand that where we're most effective is talking with business owners. Doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how long they've been around. The most rewarding part is helping a business owner move the needle a little bit. And the more time we spend doing that in a kind of a structured way, the better off we're all going to be.
And I think that's the fault of being in business for yourself, being an entrepreneur, is that you tend to, let's just say, not eat that big frog every morning. Just tend to deal in the little measly details that have nothing to do with the business, except for what you need to be doing is to going out there and meeting this business owner.
Exactly. It was funny. I finally figured out is that I'm a morning person. So I've got to do all my face-to-face activity before about 2:00. And after 2:00, 3:00, I'm more than happy to be by myself and do the operational administrative things that come with the business. So one of the keys is to know yourself, right? If you're a morning guy, then do all your interacting with people and prospecting in the morning and your coaching. If you're an evening guy, get all that morning stuff for operational admin, and then go do your face-to-face activity in the afternoon. What I would encourage you not to do, though, is fight it, because you're going to lose that fight every time.
Yeah. And procrastination is the killer of everything, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it. More time you spend doing chair spins, the worse your business is going to be. Doesn't matter what kind of business it is.
Yeah, and especially when you're trying to help people. Anyways, I really appreciate the time you took with us today, and sharing part of your life and your journey. So hopefully this will help some entrepreneur out there make a decision on what to do with their lives. And with your input, that would be valuable, very valuable.
Well, William, I appreciate the opportunity today, and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you for your time, Steve. Much appreciated. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today, and hope you have gained some valuable insights into the world of franchising. My name is William Lesante, and I would like to invite you to the next episode of the Franchise Coach podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share with your network. Also, click the link below to learn more about franchising with Action Coach. Thank you.